Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good one. I'm Nick, and today I'm diving into Cape Fear, the 1991 version. This is, of course, a remake of the 1962 classic, but this one is definitely the more popular version, I would say, the 1991 version. I wasn't even aware that there was a 60s version before I started doing these reviews. This was a requested review from one of my viewers, one of my subs, so I'm glad to put this out there. And plus, he let me know that it's the 30th anniversary on November 15th of this year, so perfect time to put this one out there. This is, of course, a first time watch for me, as was the original, so maybe my views will change over time, but for now, here is what I think of Cape Fear. So Cape Fear was released in 1991. It stars Robert De Niro, Nick Nolte, Jessica Lange, Juliette Lewis, and was directed by Martin Scorsese, the one and only. So right off the bat, I just want to say that this is basically a modernized version of the original classic. They do take a lot of liberties and change a few things up. It's not a shot-for-shot remake like the stupid Psycho movie we got with Vince Vaughn in the 90s. This definitely is his own beast, but a lot of the plot beats are the same as the original. Up until I say 3/4 in the film, and then things drastically change, and the whole ending is different. In this one, the plot is basically the same, where we have a guy who was convicted and put in prison. When he gets out, he goes after Sam, who is a lawyer. But the difference in this movie is that Sam was his lawyer and was defending him and lost the case, which sent him to prison for 14 years. While as the old 1962 film, he was against him and he's the one who actually put him in prison. So I like that they changed things up like that, and he tries to make Sam feel guilty for putting him behind bars and not doing enough. And the truth is, Sam Bowden didn't do all in his power to save Max Cady from going to jail. He held back evidence that would have helped him or helped his court case, just because he's seen what he did to this girl he raped and had a beat her or did battery or whatever with the woman in question. But basically, since the girl has been with 3 or 4 other guys just during that same month, the case probably would have been thrown out, or at least his charges put down more. But Sam was not in the right mindset, and he didn't want this guy to get away with anything, so he sent him away. But it came back to haunt him, because when he gets out, you know the drill, he starts stalking and tormenting Sam and his family. So right off the bat, I just want to say I love how they reused the score for this film. You can really tell it's like a 1960s score placed in a more modernized movie, but it just seems to really work, and it adds elements just like the old film, how it intensifies the thrilling scenes and the emotional scenes. The score really adds a whole nother level to this. And when comparing this to the OG, while it's a lot of the same, everything's turned up a notch. The urgency, the thrills, the violence, the gore. Like, there's certain scenes in the old film where Max beat this woman, and in this one, he doesn't just beat her, he like bites off a part of her face and everything, and you're like, holy shit, and you see the whole thing, and it's like, it's great that we got this version, because those type of things couldn't be done back in the early 60s. So yeah, this definitely pumps up the action. And they really did like a tribute to the original by adding the 2 main leads from that old movie, Gregory Peck and Robert Mitchum. Both have smaller roles in this film, and it's just cool to see them back like 30 years later, and how their looks have changed. And like, for example, Robert Mitchum, who played the villain in the old film, plays like a lieutenant in this one, and it's funny to see him kind of go against Max Cady, Robert De Niro's character, in this. And we have Martin Scorsese at the helm of this film. He directed it, so he added in so much more style and that to this, whether you're talking about the camera angles or like the off colors and the weird black and white, like almost negative images that come on the screen. And this adds like a whole nother style to the film that it really elevates it as well. Now let's get into the characters and the performances. Nick Nolte plays Sam Bowden, and man, does he look like the original character. Down, like, put them side by side, him and Gregory Peck from the 1962 version, and it's hard to tell the difference. Like, really look the part, that's for sure. His character traits are a tiny bit different. I feel like this version of Sam isn't as pure as the older OG version. He's a good guy, but he does some pretty shady stuff right from the get-go. While Max Cady does bring him down and make him more evil throughout the film to try to bring him down to his level, he already has some of that there to begin with. Now let's talk about the great Robert De Niro, who plays Max Cady in this one, and to perfection. I mean, before I even watch this, you just think Robert De Niro, he can play a great villain. It's like Jack Nicholson. You just know they're going to own this role. And he does do an excellent job. Not to take anything away from Robert Mitchum, I think he did an excellent job too. They both did great performances. And I do like how De Niro kind of puts his own twist on his character to make him stand a little bit apart from Robert Mitchum's version. And yeah, he plays it very well. And just the way they have his hair and he's done up in all these tattoos, he actually is a little bit more threatening, I think, than the OG version, just because, like I said, he's more violent, he's more vicious, and when shit goes down, it's pretty serious. And Sam's daughter in this one is also getting tormented, and that by the villain, but she's played by Juliette Lewis, and she looks almost identical to Liv Tyler to me, like a young Liv Tyler. Not just her looks, but just the way she acts and her like expressions in that. I was just like, man, that girl looks like Liv Tyler. And I know Juliette Lewis is a big actress as well. But yeah, it just made me think of those two together. Now I want to get into the final act a little bit of this film. I really think that the final act is what pushes this one further than the original. It makes it a little bit better. It's just wow, it wowed me. They changed up a lot of things, so I had no idea what was going to happen. We still get the Cape Fear setting with the boat, but that's basically all that's the same from the old film. Everything gets cranked up, the violence, the thrills. You're like, oh shit, how is this going to go down? And when we get the boat like breaking apart and that was just beautiful to me. I'm a huge fan of maritime disasters, or like anything with boats sinking and disasters and that. I'm just fascinated to learn about it, whether it be the Titanic or any other ship. And so just seeing even this smaller boat break apart while they're inside and water coming in and all this, it was just so interesting for me to watch, and that really hit home for me. And I was like, yes, this ending is awesome. And it definitely plays out a lot different with the main lead and the bad guy at the very end. You're like, wow, they really subverted my expectations. And that's what remakes are supposed to do. You don't want a carbon copy of the OG. Even though this is definitely a much more modernized version, it still does enough to change the story here and there that you feel like you can watch both of these back to back. You're not watching the same movie. I mean, basically, that's the advantage that this movie had, being made in 91. They had a lot more technology and knowledge and different things. Like, we went through the 80s slashers and the Italian crazy horror movies and that, so a lot of things were already pushed beyond limits. So when it comes to this, they definitely had to push their limits as well. And they did a fantastic job. So if I'm going to go ahead and rate this film, guys, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It's an excellent remake, one of the better ones out there, in my opinion. And this was only a first time watch for me, so like I said, the rating is most likely only going to go up from here. Yeah, I got great performances all around, just like the OG. But the thrills and the violence and all that was really pushed even further for me in this one, which elevates my score from the 8.5 of the original to a 9 in this one. And I'm really glad that you guys requested this. Keep them coming, guys. Drop down below what movie you want me to review next. And what did you think of Cape Fear 1991? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know all that down in the comments. You can also follow me on Letterboxd for all of my movie ratings and reviews. And also you can go ahead and buy me a coffee if you're interested. That will really help support the channel. Links to all that will be in the description, guys. You can also like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want future content. That's all I got for you guys today. Thanks for watching.